Funny enough, showing houses in real estate is a big part of our business, but there are good ways to show houses and there are bad ways to show houses. And ultimately, how you show a house is going to be a part of your success as a real estate agent. So today I'm coming to you with my top 7 tips for you to show houses. If we've not met already, hi, my name is Carys and I create content on all things real estate, social media, and self-development. If you enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss a video with me. If you want to know my top tips for you to show houses to your clients, just keep on watching. Okay, so some of these tips are things that you should be doing before you go to the showing, and some are things you should be doing during the showing. So let's get into tip number 1 of showing houses, and that is learning. Funny enough, you should know about these houses that you are going to show. Know the prices, know the square foot, know what year it was built, know the price of the HOA. Know those key facts about each house that you are going to see, because very, very likely they are going to be asking for them. Another thing you can do actually while you are learning about the house is actually finding out something to do with the house that is maybe a cool feature or something that your client may find interesting about the house that they may not actually think about asking. Know the key stats, know what you're talking about, and speak with confidence. That leads us into tip number 2, and that is knowing about the area that the house is in. These are things about what does the HOA or the community offer if it's in one. What are the local schools closest to the home? If you don't necessarily know the area, maybe you want to learn about the closest grocery store, certain activities that are held in the local area. You should know about the house. People are living in that local city for a reason. So as a real estate agent, you are the professional. So you should know about the area and about the things that it has to offer your clients. Tip number 3 is printing out MLS sheets before you go show these houses. Every house that you have on your showing schedule for that day, you should have 2 MLS sheets printed out. One for you and one to give to your client. Something that I do for clients that I highly recommend is buying clipboards. Have a clipboard for you and one for your clients. Put that MLS sheet for the house that you are specifically going to see at each time. Do not give them all the MLS sheets at once. You want them to focus on that house that they are specifically seeing at that moment. So print out the MLS sheet, put it in their clipboard, and if you have the time, highlight the key things on the MLS sheet, such as the square foot, the year it was built, things like that. The journey of buying a house is stressful, especially right now. So the easier that you can make this process for a client, the better and the more that they will love you for it. So you should have an MLS sheet for every single house you show, and then as you go to each house, you give them that next sheet. And tip number 4 is having showing feedback forms. Now these feedback forms are going to be ratings on that specific house as your buyer is going through them. So give them the clipboard, give them the MLS sheet, and give them the showing feedback form and a pen. That is what they will get at each house. This feedback form should have ratings on these specific parts of the house. How do they rate the kitchen? How do they rate the area? How do they like the yard? How do they like the bathrooms? It should have ratings for specific parts of the house, but also what they think the pros and the cons are. A showing can be as quick as 10-15 minutes. So having your client being able to write these things down is going to be so important, because it's going to help them remember, okay, in that house, the bathroom was really small, so I'm not really a fan of that. Okay, in this one, the master bedroom was on the ground floor and I want it to be on the second one. Okay. Have them write down in detail as they are going through the house, because you are going to want to refer back to that later. Same thing as the MLS sheets. You should have one for each house as you go. Tip number 5 is another printout. But hey, we gotta be prepared, because preparation is key. And that is a showing schedule sheet. This showing schedule should have written down all of your houses that you are going to see in that specific day, because you should be going to see multiple houses in a day. This showing schedule form should have, boom, 1, 2, 3, 4, however many houses you're going to see. It should say the addresses that you are going to. It should say the price of the house. It should say how you are getting inside of the house. If it is a combination, write the combination on the sheet. Be prepared. Because you are going in order, you should also write down the distance between house 1 and house 2 and house 3, and make sure when you're planning your schedule, leave a buffer for traffic, because you just don't know. And the worst thing is you're trying to rush your clients because you're behind on schedule, and then you show up late to appointments. So don't do that. Provide a buffer. It's better you be early than be late. If you want a copy of my showing schedule form, let me know in the comments below and I will email you over mine. Tip number 6 is something that a lot of agents have dealt with in their real estate career, or if you're new, you're probably going to deal with it, and that is dealing with annoying, tricky lock boxes. Some lock boxes have the super key, or maybe they have the central lock like up north, but some lock boxes have the combination. And if you're like me and you have your nails done, it's very difficult to get those open. But what you want to make sure is that you should be early to that first house, get that lockbox open, know how to use it, especially if this is your very first showings that you were ever doing. The more you do showings, the more lockbox you'll encounter and the more you'll learn how to do it. If you get your confirmation, they tell you that the lockbox is in a weird, bizarre place that's not the front door, make sure you write it on there so you're not getting to the house and you're like, where the heck is the lockbox? And if you're struggling to open the lockbox, don't get all flustered and stressed out. Just have conversations with your clients and make them talk while you're trying to figure out how to open it. My last tip that I have for you is eliminate as you go. With that showing feedback form, after every single house, you should be comparing to the last house and then eliminating. The fact is, if you're going to see 4 or 5 houses in a day, your buyers are going to forget about what they liked, what they didn't like. So as you go see house number 1, you'll have their ratings, you'll have their feedback, their pros, their cons, everything else. You go see house number 2, you get their feedback, their pros, their cons, and everything else. Then, once you are done with showing number 2, you say, hey, between house number 1 and house number 2, which house do you prefer? If they sit there and they say, hey, I like house number 2 more than house number 1, you eliminate house number 1. When they go and see house number 3, then it's, do you like house number 2 better or house number 3 better? And they say, oh, well, I actually like house number 3 better. Okay, you eliminate number 2, etc., etc., until you are done with all of the houses. So by the end of your showing, you should have house number 1 that hopefully they want to submit an offer on, and then you can have a backup of what was next in line, because we know this market right now, and we may not always get our first choice with houses. But you should not get to the end of showing 4 or 5 houses, and you've not clearly eliminated certain ones that did not match the criteria. Do that with them, do it in person, and make sure at the end of your showings, you know your next steps forward. The worst thing you can do is get the end of your last showing, there's no clear feedback on the houses, and then you part ways and you say, hey, okay, just let me know what you think, and then you drive away. Do not do that. That is a waste of your time, it's a waste of your client's time. Finish all your showings, get your feedback, get your pros, cons, have your eliminated ones, have your top one, have your second runner up, and then set clear expectations of what the next steps are with your client. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today. I hope you got some tips and tricks out of showing houses to your clients. Make sure you have enthusiasm. Like, this is a stressful process for a lot of buyers. So your job as a real estate agent is obviously to be professional and show your expertise, but it's also to take the stress away from your clients. You want to make sure that they're actually like enjoying themselves as much as they can in the process. And seeing houses is a fun thing. That's why we're real estate agents. Make sure you're able to share your enthusiasm and your funness with your clients. All right, guys, if you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.